welcome. My name is Lexi Jong, and here I like to talk about luxury makeup. And today we are talking about La Bouche Rouge. And this has been my first time trying this brand, and I wanted to try a little bit of everything. So I picked up the highlighter, the bronzer, an eyeshadow palette, and lipstick, and 4 other brushes. So I have the 2 face brushes and the 2 main eye brushes. I skipped the brow brush. So we're going to be testing those out and get ready with me today. And I've been using these for over a week now. I have 2 additional eye looks that I'll be sharing with you today as well, but I have formulated my thoughts on all of these items. Now, if you're unfamiliar with La Bouche Rouge, it is a pretty expensive brand. It's definitely a luxury brand, and their focus is to use like naturally derived ingredients. They are getting things from sustainable sources. They are also, trying to do away with plastic. So their packaging and so forth. For example, this here, you've got a vegan leather case, and these are the compacts they use for the highlighter, the bronzer, the eyeshadow, and there are no metal pieces here. You don't even have like a true mirror here. Like it's not the glass that you would use for a mirror. It's like a reflective metal here. So everything is metal and it's reusable. So they do sell the refills separately. So if you're interested in trying the brand and you don't care about the packaging, you could easily just pick up like the refill size of the bronzer or the highlighter or the eyeshadow palette. And they are definitely a much more affordable price than purchasing it with the packaging. You could keep them in like an Adept palette or a Z palette or anything like that, some sort of magnetic pan palette. And that is another way to try the brand. Now, you can purchase La Bouche Rouge directly from their website, and you can also get things engraved on their website. So forget what the cost is. I will leave that information down below in the description box. I want to say it's something like $15, but you can get like your initials engraved on the items. You can also pick and choose your colors of the cases. They've got some special colors on there as well. Selfridges has a few items. I've seen the lipsticks there, and I want to say that I did see like the highlighter there before. When I just checked yesterday, I didn't see it, but I think it's been there before. So that's that. And where I actually picked mine up is Net-a-Porter. So Net-a-Porter has quite a few of their items. They go out of stock fairly quickly after a restock usually, but they do have a little bit of a better price than buying it directly from La Bouche Rouge. So that's where I picked up my items. And I believe the ones that I picked up are all still in stock on their website, but I will leave all purchasing information and links down below in the description box if you're interested. So just a little bit more about the brand. La Bouche Rouge, as I mentioned, they are trying to get away from plastic. They are also trying to get away from a lot of the more undesirable ingredients that are used in luxury beauty or beauty items in general. So they are a vegan company. Again, that means there's no beeswax here. They're cruelty-free. They don't do any animal testing. There's no petroleum or petroleum derivatives. They don't use talc or silicone in their products. And it looks like the things that I picked up, at least, they don't have microplastics. So the only one I didn't see that mentioned on was the lipsticks. So perhaps, I don't know about the lipsticks. I don't think there are microplastics in there, but didn't specifically say that. But for the highlighter, the bronzer, and the eyeshadow, it does specifically say that there are no microplastics in the products or the packaging for these items. Now, in place of some of these ingredients, for example, in place of silicone, they are using rice powder. So rice powder, one of the reasons they're using this is not only does it have a similar behavior as the silicone does in these items, but it's also a natural source of vitamin B. So one of the things that the brand is promoting is sort of getting a little bit of skincare in with your makeup. Again, personally, I would not count on any of that. I would just disregard all skincare claims. But for the sake of being complete, they are promoting that the rice powder has a natural source of vitamin B. And then they are also using, for example, in the eyeshadow, they're using sunflower seed oil, which adds moisturization to your eyes and also is rich in vitamin E, which has anti-aging properties. And all of these items are harvested in sustainable fields. And they also, if you are interested in finding out how much of each product is made out of natural origin ingredients, they do have that information on their website. For example, the bronzer is 95% natural origin ingredients. The eyeshadow palette, at least in my shade Aerial that I picked up, it's 93%. So there are, you know, there's more information on their website. Now, just for an example of how everything comes packaged, this is the highlighter, so it will be labeled up here at the top. And you have this cardboard sleeve, and inside, this is a heavy duty paper box. And then inside you have the product. So if you are purchasing from Net-a-Porter like I did, you don't have the option of changing your color case for the products, whereas you do on the La Bouche Rouge website. And again, they have some additional colors. So this is the palette. You've got the La Bouche Rouge symbol here. This is all metal, so it's white on the outside. This is a magnetic closure. And the inside here, it's not a traditional mirror. This is like reflective metal here. And this is the actual product. And you can see on the back, you've got the pinpoint holes so that you can change out these pans. So let me just show you what this looks like in comparison to some other size palettes. Now I have to say, when I got this, it was a lot smaller than I expected. So here is a regular Chanel eyeshadow palette, and you can see how much smaller it is than this. Now keep in mind, these Chanel palettes, you've got a lot of like dead space in here for the, you know, little utensils and around the pans and so forth. And then comparison to Tom Ford, you can see it's almost twice the height there. And then for Dior, just kind of see here. So just wanted to show you the size difference in these palettes because this is a little bit smaller than I was thinking. Now, as for how much product is in there, I will have to see if I can find that information online, and I will post that here, but you can see I have like a little sticker over it for the highlighter and the bronzer. So I'm not sure exactly how much product's in there. For the eyeshadow palette though, that comes with 6.5 grams or 0.23 ounces. And that is going to be similarly sized. So let me show you the eyeshadow palette. So mine comes in a red case, and you can see the compact itself is the same compact, it's the same size compact. So my guess is that they are going to be about the same amount of product. Again, the formulas may weigh slightly differently. So this is the Aerial palette, and this is all purples. I have to say, pictures online are a little bit hard to tell. Like when you go to La Bouche Rouge and you go to Net-a-Porter and you look, they do have some different photos, and it's a little bit hard to tell exactly, like I wasn't sure which one it was gonna be, but I went more with the color descriptions on the La Bouche Rouge website, which described them as purples because they kind of looked brown on the website. So here is the eyeshadow palette in Aerial. And one of the things that La Bouche Rouge mentions about the eyeshadow palettes in general is that these are ultra concentrated pigments. So you can apply them with a finger or a brush. You get a lot of buildup. They're very buildable in general, but you're going to get a lot of pigment on the first application. So it's not a product, if you're trying to build up the pigment, you don't have to keep going back and back and back to build up to get kind of the color in the pan. So just so you know, they are very pigmented. The texture is very interesting. We're going to talk a little bit more about the textures. We're going through the Get Ready With Me, but it's almost like a gel type texture, like a gel powder hybrid. I would say cream, but it's not really cream. It seems more like a gel to me. So we'll talk about that, what that means for application during the Get Ready With Me. Now, real quickly, let me just show you the other items that I picked up. So in the black case, I have the bronzer, and I picked up the bronzer in, what is it? It's like the blonde shade. So they have blonde, they have brown, and intense. So this is the lightest bronzer. Put that here. And here's the highlight. So just so you know, to get this highlight, it's like firm in the pan. So I really have to like kind of go back and forth quite a bit to pick up the pigment. I'm just gonna build that a little bit more so you can see the sheen. You can see that it's got a golden hue to it and there's some shimmer, but it is one that, you know, it's not powdery. I mean, look at this. There's absolutely no powder kick up and you don't get a lot of product up initially with the brush, in my opinion. It's a very subtle highlight. And the last item I picked up is one of the lipsticks. So you can purchase the lipstick refills separately. You can purchase the cases separately. You can purchase them in like a, you know, all together. So one lipstick and one case. Or you can pick up, they have these like duos where there are already 2 refill shades and 1 case in the set. And you don't get to pick the shades then. So I ended up picking up the refill from, I think I got it from Net-a-Porter. I can't remember if I got it from there or La Bouche Rouge. They're the same price on both of those sites for the refills. And then the case was out of stock. I wanted the pink one and it was out of stock. So I got this one from Selfridges. So here is the shade. I got Nude Pink, and this lipstick comes in matte satin lip balm formula. This one is gonna be one of the satin formulas, and this is 3.4 grams or 0.11 ounces. This is what the case looks like that it comes in for the refill. So it's just a little cardboard tube. And by the way, all of these products are made in France. And before we move on to the Get Ready With Me, these are the 4 brushes I picked up. They also have a few other things, like there's an eyebrow brush. There might be like, I think there's a lip brush or something also. But I picked up the face brushes. This is the highlighter brush. You can see it's like a stippling brush, and it's got 2 different layers. So I thought this was really interesting. This is the powder brush, which is so soft. And then these are the 2 eyeshadow brushes that they have. So you've got these 2 here. These are all vegan fibers with beechwood handles. And just to show you, when you buy the lipsticks, this is what my lipstick case came in. So just the case itself, you've got the little La Bouche Rouge thing, and then you have a case here. So it's like this gigantic box. If you're looking for like a really fancy lipstick case to give somebody for a gift, it's a really nice presentation. All right, so I'm gonna bring you in closer and we are going to get started. So we are gonna start with the eyeshadow palette today. And again, here are the swatches for that. And I have the Viseart eye primer on. And you can see that although these are technically purples, they look a little bit more purple in the pan than they do in the swatches. There's definitely a brown base to all of these. So we have this shade here, which is really more like a pinky beige shade, just very soft pinky beige. But there's definitely like some beige tones to it. And then next up, this shade here, it's a little bit more of a Dune Rose shade with just a little touch of plum in it. Third shade here is the most purple out of all of them. It's really gonna be like medium deep purple shade, almost eggplant, but a lot of times when you see an eggplant shade, there are more red undertones in it than this one has. This one definitely has more bluish tones to it than a typical eggplant shade, and it's not quite that deep. And then the last shade here, you can see that this one has more reddish tones in it, and it actually comes off more as like a reddish brown with purple in it. So these are the 4 shades in the palette, and you can see up close with these swatches the texture of it. So they, you know, they're not a traditional powder. There is some additional moisture sort of in this powder, which gives it more of this like gel-like powder hybrid texture to it. So we're gonna start off with this fluffier eyeshadow brush, and out of the 2 of them, you can see that this one that we're going to be using is a little bit longer. It's more like a crease brush, whereas this one here is a little bit, you know, there's not quite as much flex or give to it. So we're going to start off with the crease style brush. We're going into the second shade. We're going to put this in the crease. Just got some shadow up here. And then we're gonna go in with this deepest shade. We're just gonna dab a little bit. This is the other brush. Just gonna dab a little bit on here and just dabbing this in the outer corner here. And that's it, not doing anything else with that right now. Wiped off the brush, I'm gonna go into the third shade and do the same thing and place this right next to it here. So as I mentioned, because of this texture, just getting a little bit more there, because of this texture, it when you put it down, it kind of stays there. So you can definitely blend it out and everything, but it kind of like has a little tackiness to your lids. So it'll kind of stay where you put it right away. So I just want to show you how these shadows blend. So now we're going to go back with that crease brush. And we're just going to kind of blend these out. And now I'm just going to kind of blend these two shades towards the inner corner where I have no shadow. So you can see how they move. So you can see that they do blend out, they move, but it is gonna stay a little bit deeper kind of where you put that unless you do a whole lot of blending. And again, that's kind of the texture of this. Just because it has kind of that gel-like texture to it, it just really kind of adheres to the lid there. But you can get a nice blend with it. So I think that's gonna be good for the blend here. And we're going to add this lighter shade here. So going back to the other brush, we're going to go in with the lightest shade. And we're going to put this on. Now, one of the things that I personally like with this, just wanted to show you, see how opaque that gets? I'm actually going to go back and fix that. But I just want to show you, even the sheer shade here is pretty opaque. So you don't really see too much of that original shade underneath it anymore. So I'm just going to go ahead and fix this, blend this a little bit in the crease, and then add a little bit of the deeper shades back again. So this is kind of what it looks like. And one of the things that, you know, I'm not thrilled with the shadows is just because, you know, it takes a lot of blending to get a really smooth blend because it does stay so pigmented right where you put it, which is fine usually, but because of this gel-like texture and it kind of sticks there, I feel like if it were more powdery, that wouldn't be the case, if that makes sense. So I don't know, maybe it's just me. I think you can get a nice look with these though. And you know, I'm not saying I don't like it. It's just, it's different. So you kind of have to account for it. Just taking a little bit of that lighter shade and just putting it where where they hit. So without blending out this side and just adding the lighter shade on top, here, you can see how much it covers. So just to show you how opaque that is. So it's not completely opaque, but quite a bit. I mean, that has definitely changed the look a lot. For the upper lash line, I'm taking the Gucci eye pencil in lavender, or amethyst rather. I'm just gonna add this to the upper lash line. So I'm gonna take the more dense brush there and just kind of smudge that a little bit. And it's just gonna soften it a tiny bit. It's not super dense enough to really move the eyeliner. And then for the lower lash line, I'm taking a little bit of the second shade. I'm using the crease brush and I'm just gonna go very lightly just with the tip. All right, so I wanna clean this up a little bit and add some mascara. I'll see you in a second. All right, so this is the eye look from a distance. I just took my cloth and wiped that area a little bit and then I added the Surratt Noir lash tint. So this is what it looks like from a distance. And let's go ahead and check out the bronzer and the highlighter. We are going to use the bronzer in place of blush today. I'm going to use the powder brush for that. So just, you can see it comes out very easily. And let's just go ahead and I'm gonna just dab that off of my brush now and just sweep that on. So you can see that it's like a warm yellowy bronzer, which is not really my norm. Excuse the frizz in my hair today. It's been raining for 2 days straight, and no matter what I do to my hair, it's frizzy on days like this. So here is the bronzer. I'll make it a little bit deeper so you guys can kind of see it a bit better. So it definitely adds some more like yellow-based warmth to the face. All right, so let me know what you guys think of that. And then we're gonna go in with the highlighter. I'm gonna show you how the highlighter brush does with this. So you can see it picks up the pigment. And I think one of the reasons they call this as a highlighter brush is because this is such a firm pan one. You want something that's gonna be a little bit more pokey, I guess, in a way, to pick up the highlighter. So they actually recommended kind of putting this all over for a luminous finish, like all over your cheek area, not just in the traditional highlight area. So let me just show you. This is how they demoed it. So there's the highlighter, side with no highlighter. Before we go in with the highlight all over, like we did on this side, I'm gonna show you what it looks like with a smaller brush. This is the Sonia G Mini Cheek. And you can see, you know, I have to really kind of press to get it. And if we're just putting it in the highlighter portion, there you go. So you can see it builds up. It's a gold highlight. And again, that's this one here. So it's kind of a soft gold and there's a subtle sheen to it. So it's not really blinding, but you can get it blinding like I did on this side. This is definitely much, much brighter. I'm just gonna even this out and add the highlighter to the whole cheek on this side here. So this look overall is a little bit too yellow and shiny for me, so I'm gonna add in a little pink. This is the Chanel new formula in 602 Rose Ribbon. I'm gonna show you how the highlighter brush works on this. So just gonna get some product up and just gonna kind of add that in here. So you can see that it applies the product really nicely. So you get kind of like a subtle luminosity with this brush in general, just because of the way it applies the product. It sort of has like a light buffing when you put it on, and it goes on very seamlessly. So I just wanted to add a little bit of pink there to add in a little bit of another color. And I'm gonna show you the lipstick before we head on further out. So this is the lipstick. Again, it's a very, very nice case. We've got the component in here for holding the refill. And again, the bottom of the tube has a little mirror. So I don't know, having it on the bottom is just kind of silly because I'd rather have it on the top and be able to look while I'm doing it. Whereas this is more for, I guess, like checking to make sure it looks good. So just a personal preference of mine. So this is my final look then for today with the La Bouche Rouge items. I'm going to go ahead and share the 2 additional eye looks with you now, and then let's come back and talk about my thoughts on each of these products. Okay, we are using the Arrow palette from La Bouche Rouge, and this is the Refer 01. I'm going to go into this second shade here, and I'm just putting the color on the tip. And I have the Hourglass Veil eye primer on. It's a little bit of a tacky primer, so it does add a little extra resistance. All right, so I think today we're going to use all 4 shades. I'm going to dab my brush in the deepest and put this on the outer corner. Now, just a note with these shadows, like just dabbing it straight down, I wasn't really getting any color, so I had to actually, you know, move my brush back and forth a little bit. So I don't want it to be super dark, just going in lightly and dabbing. And before we go further, I'm going to take the Chantecaille eye blend brush into this deepest shade. I'm going to smudge this right along the upper lash line. Going back with the Refer 01 into this purple shade, the 3rd shade. I'm going to put this on about 3/4 of the lid. I'm going over that outer edge as well. All right, so I have to say I thought the color would be a little bit more sheer, but you can see that it really pretty much covers the deepest shade on the outer edge and kind of like covers the liner and so forth as well. I wiped the brush off. I'm going into the lightest shade here. And we're going to put this here on the inner corner and spread that up and over. Okay, and then just what's left is lightly being dusted on top of the rest of the lid. But you can see I'm barely touching the lid because I don't want to, you know, have the issue where it completely covers the shade. I'm going to take the eye blend brush into the 2nd shade for the lower lash line. All right, so I did get a tiny bit of fallout here, but the particles are so finely milled, you can't really see it too well. I'm not sure if you can see it, but I don't notice anything on this side. All right, so this is going to be it for the look today, and I'm going to finish off my makeup. See you in a second. And this is the final look from a distance. I have on the Givenchy Prisma Libre Glow Foundation in shade N195 and the Chanel Malice blush in the old formula. And I added the Burberry mascara and the Surratt brow tint or brow pomade in light brown. And that's everything I have so far. All right, please ignore my hair. We're gonna do a super quick light look using the Arrow palette now. And I'm going to start off just with, this is one of the eyeshadow brushes from La Bouche Rouge. This one you can see doesn't have a lot of give or movement. I'm just going to go into this 3rd shade here, and I'm just stamping it here. I have the Vizier eye primer on. Just going to stamp a little bit of this in the outer corner here. Next, I'm taking the crease brush from them. This one's like a fluffier brush. And I'm just gonna drag a little bit of that shade into the crease. We're going for a super light look, so I'm just gonna take that first brush again. This is the one that's more dense, and go into the first shimmery shade here. And I'm gonna just kind of put this all over. So now I'm taking the Smith 302. You can see it's an angled brush. It's not quite as thin as the traditional angled liner brush. I'm going to go into the 3rd shade that I used first. Just going to swipe this along the lower lash line, or the upper lash line. All right, and going back to that little like, whatever, that denser eyeshadow brush and just kind of blurring those edges. And that's gonna be the eye look. Gonna finish off with mascara. I'll see you in a minute. All right, and this is my final look from a distance. So I'm trying a sample of the Sisley Ultra Tint Foundation, the new 0 shade. I think it's a touch yellow, but everything else I have on, I have the La Bouche Rouge light bronzer, the highlight, and Chanel Rose Ecrin, and the Old Formula. And then I have the La Bouche Rouge lipstick in Nude Pink on my lips. Surratt Brow Pomade in light brown, and Surratt Noir Lash Tint. So let's start with brushes. This is the highlighter brush, and this is, you know, as I mentioned, it's synthetic, vegan fibers, beechwood handle. You've got this stippling style brush here, and you can see like the 2 different layers. I really like this brush. Now, when I first used it to apply the highlighter the very first time, I was like, I don't really like this. I didn't think it applied the highlight very well. You know, I wasn't fond of it. And at that time, I hadn't watched La Bouche Rouge's application video that shows you, you know, that they are recommending putting it over your whole cheek. So it was like a little bit too big for what I was looking for. So at first I was like, it's okay, but I really liked the shape and I knew that it was gonna be a brush I loved. I just had to kind of figure out exactly how I wanted to use it. So I've tried this a few different ways. If you watched my Get Ready With Me from earlier in the week, I used this as a foundation brush. I love using it as a foundation brush. And again, since it's synthetic, that's definitely something you can do with it. I think it applies blush very well, cheek products in general, if you're going for the actual cheek and not like a targeted area for like contour, this works really well. So I have to say, this is a fantastic brush. I really, really like this. And by the way, these brushes are designed in Osaka, I believe. Let me just double check my notes. All right, so they are developed in Osaka, and they are following the tradition of Kaizen calligraphy. And that's kind of why they have this particular shape handle and so forth. And the actual design of the brushes is, you know, reminiscent of the Kaizen calligraphy brushes as well. So just something to note here. I have to say that, you know, these are, if you look at the Westman Atelier brushes, which are synthetic, they are Fude brushes. They're developed, you know, created in Japan, done by hand and everything. They have a much higher price. Now, these are developed in Osaka, but you know, they're not technically a Fude brush. So there's a difference there. And I think that allows it to have like a lower price point, but it's a really nice brush. I really like this. I would recommend this, especially since it is so multi-purpose for foundation, powder products, and so forth. So I've also used this to apply like the blurring powder. I've been playing with the Sisley Perfect Blur powder. This applies it very nicely. I use it before foundation. I actually have it on today, but this will apply the powder very nicely as well. So face powders, blushes, highlights, those are all things that work really well with this powder wise. And then of course, liquid foundations, powder foundations, all go on very nicely with this brush. So I think it's a really well-rounded brush. This powder brush, I really like this one. It's very, very soft, and it's just, it feels so nice on the skin. And I forget, I think it's $45. I feel like that's a good price for this brush. You have this beautiful handle, vegan synthetic bristles, super soft. I don't have the La Mer powder brush, but this is kind of what I was expecting it to feel like. So we'll see if I haven't decided if I'm going to get that yet or not, but you know, it's so soft on the skin. You can definitely use this for like bronzer and so forth. You could use it for blush. You can use it for all over powder. So I think it's a really, really nice brush. Now, I wouldn't recommend it for liquid foundation. You can see how much give and movement this brush has. I don't think it would apply it as seamlessly as, for example, the highlighter brush would. Now, as for the eye brushes, you know, these I don't really love. So I think they are okay. This crease brush is okay. It has a little bit too much bounce back to really be as effective as a crease brush as I would like. So it's not as great of a blending brush as other brushes that I have, whether synthetic or natural hair. And I just think it's okay. This one here, the one that's a little bit more dense, this applies the product nicely. I could see using this for like spot concealing and things like that. I think it's an okay brush also. I like this one better than the crease brush, but I don't love either of them. You know, I think there are better brushes out there. And yeah, so these two I don't love, but I do really love the Too Faced brushes. Now moving on to the lipstick, I really like the lipstick. I think it's very comfortable on the lips. It's a thinner texture lipstick. It feels like a thin lip balm, and it's pretty sheer. So if you're looking for ultra pigmented, try some of their matte shades. I believe the matte shades are much more pigmented than this satin formula. And again, they also have a lip balm formula. I really like the way this feels on my lips, but it does not last long. I don't know, I feel like reapplying about every 2 to 3 hours or so, you know. It doesn't have longevity, but it's one of those lipsticks that's really nice and easy to throw in your purse. And I mean, this particular shade is so light that it's easy to apply without a mirror or anything. So this is the shade, it's Nude Pink. And yeah, I think it's such an easy, beautiful shade to wear. I really like it. I love the way it feels. And my only gripe with the packaging is I wish the mirror were on the cap instead of on the bottom, so I can kind of look while I'm applying it. But that's, you know, my personal thing. I think overall the packaging here is very nice. Now, these are incredibly expensive for a lipstick and a lipstick case. Again, the lipstick refill I think is $40, and then the case is what's the really pricey part. But again, they're reusable, vegan leather on here. So it's definitely something that will last. And again, it would make a great gift. You can get your initials, or, you know, whoever you're giving it to, you can get their initials on the case for any of these cases. Now on to the highlight. I think the highlight is okay. It's not my favorite formula. I think it's a little bit firmer in the pan than I would like. It does give a really nice sheen to the skin, but it's also a little bit more gold than I would like. I don't consider it universal per se. So I wish they would come out with another shade, maybe something a little bit more champagne or a little bit cooler in tone. And the swatch for this one here is at the bottom. So you can see that is a soft gold, but it definitely has a lot of yellow tones in it, which is just not my personal preference with my coloring. But I think it's okay. Again, if you are interested in trying things like the bronzer, the highlighter, the eyeshadow palette, you can buy just the refill pans, put them in your own magnetic pan or palette, and that saves quite a bit of cost. I want to say that the refills are about $40, and then again, the packaging for everything is what's so expensive. So just something to note if you're interested in trying them out, but you don't want to invest necessarily in the packaging until you're sure that you like the product. That is a way to do it. So here's the highlighter. Moving on to the bronzer. It's not my favorite bronzer shade. The formula though, I do like the formula. I just think that the bronzer itself is just a little bit too warm and yellow for my preference. I really love the Gucci bronzer, and that has like a little bit of that reddish tone to it and so forth. So I will be swatching some comparisons of these in just a minute, but formula is nice. I don't love the color. Moving on to the eyeshadow palette, and I think the eyeshadow palette it's definitely interesting texturally. I'm fascinated by the texture, but I can't say that I love it, if that makes sense. I think it's a nice palette. I think it looks nice on my eyes. It performed differently than I expected, especially you could see how opaque even like the lighter shades are. It's almost like when you look at it up close, it's almost like a little chalky looking, but it does sort of kind of melt into your skin a little bit. So I'm gonna get close for a second. You can see that it doesn't quite look as chalky as it did during application. So here is the eyeshadow up close now. So I think it kind of like settles a little bit, you know, kind of sinks in a little bit. And I think it looks great from a distance, but to say, I don't love it. I think there are other formulas that just perform a little bit better. And I haven't tried too many eyeshadow formulas that are, you know, so many of these naturally derived ingredients and so forth. So I don't know if that's really more of an attribute of the ingredients or whether it's just this particular formula, but I just think that, you know, it's okay. So, yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't say that it's a must get or anything, but it's a nice eyeshadow quad, but I prefer other formulas like the new Dior Quints or Chanel quads or, you know, things like that. I think they just, for me, are a little bit easier to use than this one is. And that's not to say this is hard to use, because it's not. It's just, you know, you need to have different expectations going in with this quad than you do with some of the others, just because of that gel-like texture where it kind of adheres. So it just behaves slightly differently. And again, there's more opacity with these colors. So I just think I would have preferred some different textures in the eyeshadow quad. I like this gel-like texture, but having them all kind of like that and all opaque just isn't, I guess I'd rather have like a lighter sheer shade or a topper shade or something like that to kind of add something a little bit different, add a little dimension, whereas these are all kind of the same type of sheen and tone. Now, I have to say that they do have an all like matte eyeshadow quad that I do not have. So I'm not sure what they consider this one. If I find that information, I will leave it on the screen. But I think it's called Taj maybe, but I think that one's like all matte eyeshadows. So they are going to be different than these are. But again, I think this is an okay eyeshadow quad, but it's just not stellar. Now, before we move on to comparisons, just one other thing I'd like to mention. I do feel like the highlighter accentuates a little texture on the cheeks. So I don't have a ton of texture on my face, but I do feel like what is there is kind of amplified a little bit with the way this luminous sheen kind of reflects the light. So just something to note there. If you have a lot of texture, this highlighter maybe isn't the best. We're going to start with some comparisons of the bronzer. We're starting with the Gucci in 01 Fair, and we're going to put this one right here. So you can see that it's going to be much more brown with some pinkish undertones to it compared to the La Bouche Rouge. Next up, this is the Guerlain Golden Bee bronzer from the holidays. And this one reminded me more of the color. So I'm going to swatch the La Bouche Rouge right down here so you can see that a little bit better. Here's La Bouche Rouge. So you can see that it's even more yellow than the Guerlain. And this is the Charlotte Tilbury bronzer in number 1 Fair. So this is the really light one. And last we have the Tom Ford in Terra, which is right here. And you can see that this one's gonna be a little bit more of a brown shade in comparison. It's more similar to the Gucci, but the Gucci has more pink in it. So I kind of went over the swatch here for the Charlotte Tilbury, so just to kind of put that one in there so you can kind of see that a little bit better. Now, just a few highlighter comparisons. This is the new Sisley in Shimmer. So this is one of the Lafito blushes. And, well, we're going to start this down here. So here's the Sisley. I'm going to re-swatch La Bouche Rouge right here. So here's La Bouche Rouge. So you can see how much more yellow it is. I'm sorry about these like lines from my crease, from my cup. Let me see if I can move these. All right, so let's do this arm. So here's La Bouche Rouge. I'm going to put the Sisley above La Bouche Rouge. You can see that there's more of a peachy tone to the Sisley and more of a yellow tone with the La Bouche Rouge. Then we have the blush from the Dior Holiday Collection 310. And we're gonna put that one right below here. You can see that one's pretty yellow also. This is the Chanel Pearl de Lumiere, which is the newest blush, or newest highlighter. You can see that's gonna be a lot deeper. So I'm gonna just add one more layer of each of these so that you can kind of see a little bit more of the intensity. Okay, so here's a second layer of each of the highlighters so you can kind of see the tones a little bit better. And we've got the shimmer from Sicily, which is going to be more of a peachy champagne. Then we have the La Bouche Rouge highlighter, which is a little bit more of a yellow gold. The Dior Holiday highlighter is going to be a softer shade. It also has some sparkle in it, and it's going to be yellow tone as well. And then the last one here is the Chanel Pearl de Lumiere, which has a little bit more of a coppery gold tone to it compared to these others. One last one, this is the Guerlain Meteor. It's Pearl Dust. This is the pearly gold, the shade that looks white in the pan. Just wanted to show you how different that is. It definitely has much more white look to it. All right, we're just gonna swatch a few eyeshadows. I don't have any quite these tones. We're gonna start with the Tom Ford Moonlit Violet Quad, and I'm going to put these on my right arm, and then we'll just hold them up together. So you can see the tonal difference. The La Bouche Rouge has warmer, browner tones to it compared to the Tom Ford. Next, we're gonna look at the two shades on the bottom of Tom Ford Virgin Orchid. So a little bit of similarity with the tones of this deepest shade with the tones of this one, but again, they aren't going to quite match. Next, we're going to take a look at Plum Tulle, and we're going to look at these two shades, and I'm going to swatch them over on this side. Okay, so here's Plum Tulle. I think these are, they look the closest in the pan at least. But you can see that there's definitely more red in the Plum Tulle. We're also going to take a look at this darkest shade from Blooming Bouquet. And we're just going to squeeze that one right down here at the bottom. And then we're going to check out these bottom three shades in Plum Tulle. And again, everything is much more muted and browner based in the La Bouche Rouge than it is with these other eyeshadow palettes. And I think overall, I don't really have anything that's quite a dupe of these. I do think that they end up looking nice on the eyes, but I don't know, they're not my favorite formula. So for lipsticks, let's start with the Rouge G from, this is the number 76 Pearly Rosewood. You can see that it's going to be a lighter version of this, but they have similar tones. The Guerlain is a little bit cooler in tone than the Nude Pink in the La Bouche Rouge. Okay, we're just going to do a few more comparisons. This is Chanel Rouge Coco Flash and Easy. All right, that is too nude. We have Givenchy. This is, I don't know how to say it, Nude Pure, number 106. And that is definitely more pigmented, but the tones of this are much more similar. I bet you could, you know, if you do a light layer of this and then add some gloss on top. Let's try that. This is just the by Terry Baume de Rose. It's similar. So the difference is this one's gonna have a little bit more nude, more brown in there, and it's a little bit deeper. It's not quite as soft of a pink. We have Chanel Rouge Coco Flash in Eau de Rose, right here at the end. This is Chantecaille. This is in Clover. That is kind of close. Clover is still a little bit, it's a little peachier, but very slightly. One thing to note, you can see like Clover like glistens compared to the Nude Pink. So even though Clover actually has a little bit more peach in it, this one has a little bit more brown. And overall, Clover is going to be cooler in tone than the La Bouche Rouge. Next, we have the Guerlain Rouge G in number 59. This is the satin formula. And here to here, this is going to be much more pink than the La Bouche Rouge. And almost done. We have the Merit lip gloss in Pink Beat. Let's put that one here. We kind of blend that out a little bit. The Merit is going to be warmer. So it's warmer. It's got a little bit more orange in it compared to La Bouche Rouge. And then I'm pretty sure this is going to be warmer in tone, but this is the Chanel Rouge Coco Bloom in Dream. We'll put that right here. So it's not only much deeper, but it's also much warmer. It's much more similar to the Merit gloss actually in color. All right, so unfortunately that's it for my lip swatch comparisons. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you found these comparisons helpful. Overall, I like the La Bouche Rouge products. I think they are nice. I don't think that they are stellar. And, you know, price-wise, you know, it's really hard to say whether if something's worth the price or not. It all depends on what you are looking for. If you're somebody who's really into clean, natural ingredients, sustainable packaging, and so forth, then yes, I would say that these are worth the cost. Keep in mind that the pan sizes and things like that, buying the individual pans, that part is not outside of the realm of other products. You know, it's really the packaging that is so expensive, but it's reusable, it's sustainable, you know, you're not using plastic. So the extra money spent towards that packaging, you know, that's something that you have to decide. But the product itself, I would say, is in line with other luxury price brands as well. So overall, you know, I think that it's a very nice range. I will purchase more things from the brand. I really like how the lipstick feels. I think it's very comfortable. So in summation, I think La Bouche Rouge has fantastic packaging. I love the fact that they are sustainable and they're making efforts to use sustainably sourced ingredients, and they're not using plastics. So I'm very pleased with all of those things. The formulas themselves, I think, are okay. And I think, you know, overall, it's a nice brand, and it's definitely one that I will, you know, purchase things from again. And I'm just happy to have tried it and kind of know what to expect going in. So if you've tried anything from this brand, I'd love to know what your thoughts are. I really love how the lipstick feels on my lips. I think I will pick up more of these in the future. I'm interested in seeing what the matte ones are like, but probably not until like winter. I don't really wear matte lipsticks too often during the spring and summertime, but you know, if you've tried them, please let me know what you think. And that is basically everything for today. So I hope this was helpful, and thank you so much for tuning in today. Again, I'll have links to everything located down below in the description box. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider hitting the subscribe button, and I will see you very soon. Have a great day. Stay safe and healthy.